Welcome to AI Insights Live, the show where we decode what's real, what's hype, and what's next for business AI. I'm Andres, your host and Chief Technology Strategist at Zeroday Cybersecurity. Here's the critical AI question of the day. Are you measuring what truly matters in your AI projects, or just what's easiest to count? Let's kick off with a quick poll. If you've ever watched a dashboard light up good news metrics and you still felt something wasn't right, I want you to drop a yes in the chat. Honestly, being an engineer for the past 20 years, I see these things all the time. Well, I've created a bunch of them. But in reality, that's one of the biggest things I find kind of with leadership is everybody wants to see green across the board. They don't want to see the problems. I'm looking at the chat right now and I see a thumbs up. Yeah, we've seen some of these dashboards, right? The good news ideas, but are they really? Let's dig into it. Here's the truth. Numbers can be comforting or dangerous. The difference, whether your metrics reflect reality or just reinforce what you hope is true. Today, we're exposing the AI audit trap. Why are so many companies thinking they're winning with AI, but they're actually flying blind? That leads us into our deep dive, the real world costs of misguided metrics. Let's go straight into some examples. Example 1, Fintech loan bias. In 2021, the markup revealed that several major US lenders were using AI-powered underwriting and were disproportionately denying Black and Latino Americans mortgage applications, even when controlling for income and credit scores. Algorithms trained on historical data encoded redlining patterns. On paper, these models delivered fast, efficient approvals, but in practice, they perpetuated a decades-long discrimination because no one was auditing for demographic fairness, only speed and approval totals. Another example is coming out of ING and the Dutch. Multiple Dutch and European banks, like I mentioned, ING, as well as ABN, AMRO, rolled out AI tools to automate loan applications between 2019 and 2021. The metrics looked phenomenal. Loan processing was faster, technical errors were down, and average approval rates were steady. But investigative journalists discovered immigrants and ethnic minorities were rejected far more often. The audits have focused on overall numbers, but not on demographic disparities, until regulators and journalists forced a reckoning. Imagine being denied a home or a business loan, not because you're underqualified, but because an algorithm sees your zip code or your last name as a risk. When have good numbers been hidden and hide the reality for our most vulnerable customers? Here's another example. Healthcare. Optum's risk scoring. So in 2019, a study published in Science exposed that Optum's widely used risk prediction algorithm applied by many US hospitals gave Black patients lower risk scores than equally sick white patients. Why? The AI used the cost of care as a proxy for health, but Black patients historically receive less care. As a proxy for health, but Black patients historically receive less care. Not because they were healthier, but due to system inequities. Hospitals thought the algorithm was accurate until an external audit revealed the hidden racial bias. What about Ofqual's grading algorithm scandal? In 2020, during the pandemic, the UK's exam regulator, Ofqual, used an algorithm to assign student grades. Metrics were positive, average grades didn't drop. But outrage erupted when students at public schools in low-income areas were downgraded, but private school students often saw their results boosted. A week of protests forced the government to abandon the AI and apologize. All official audits have focused on system-wide averages, not on an individual injustice. Is it just these industries? What about retail? What about Walmart's inventory? Walmart, the world's largest retailer, has used AI-driven inventory management for years to optimize their stock and minimize waste. Internal reviews and Business Insider reports showed that in low-income stores and rural areas, essential items were constantly out of stock, while higher-income stores had a surplus. Audits tracked waste and shrink, but never checked for regional fairness until employee complaints made headlines. Something to think about, right? It's like, I mean, I've actually been to those stores and I constantly see, I'm like, hey, why don't they have this? I never put two and two together why, but the more and more I dug into this, it made sense. So what's the true cost of missing what matters? What do all these companies have in common? Their audits and dashboards were green. Their leadership teams trusted the numbers. The people harmed were invisible until someone dug deeper. If you only measure what's easy, you miss what matters most: fairness, trust, and real-world outcomes. I want you to challenge your leadership teams to answer these questions. Who's thriving because of these metrics? Who's left out or hurt? Who would know? Like, if you're not measuring it, nobody would actually see it. So that's where we pivot into the zero-day principle, measuring what matters, and the real audit loop. Here's how you avoid these traps. We do the 5-layer audit loop. Number 1, technical health. Are error rates and uptime being tracked, such as ING's error metrics? Number 2, the business impact. Are outcomes tracked by group? ING missed this as well. The markup exposed it with US lenders. Number 3, ethical and social risk. Are you running demographic bias checks, like in the science audit of Optum? Number 4, stakeholder experience. Are you reviewing direct customer, employee, and public feedback? Walmart ignored store manager warnings for months. Number 5, regulatory and reputational health. Are you up to date with new standards, documenting incidents, and ready for audits? UK off-quals failed here. Public protests forced them to have transparency. I don't think any organization that is forced to be transparent is going to look good in the public eye. That's my personal take. So let's walk through an audit example. Let's talk about customer chatbots. Every single business owner I've talked about, ever since I told them I'm into AI, they want to talk about customer chatbots. But how can we audit them? I want you to read audit transcripts for problem cases. Do customers with certain names or languages get worse outcomes? Do you track complaints and resolutions by group? Do you solicit feedback directly? Was this experience fair? I want you to take action. I want you to assign each audit layer to a specific team or leader. Rotate those responsibilities quarterly to bring in fresh eyes. So if you have a question, please drop it in the chat and I will read it. I have a few pre-submitted questions ready to go. I will make sure if you're online, we'll answer your question. So question 1, if your company's audit only measures speed and volume, I would say push to include demographic breakdowns and customer feedback. I want you to share stories like ING and markups examples. And what happens if you don't? Next question I have for you. Well, like we're not that big. We don't have data scientists. How do we catch these hidden risks? I want you to start with user journey audits. I want you to test your AI with a diverse set of names, addresses, and situations. I want you to leverage free guides from NIST, OECD, or your vendor, Zeroday Cybersecurity. Question number 3, what if you have leadership resistance? Well, we've never had a problem. Why do we need to do any of this? I want you to highlight Optum, ING, and Offqual. They were all problem-free until public outcry and external audits exposed real harm. Question 4, how do we track improvement and avoid future misses? I want you to document every audit. I want you to track those metrics for improvement by group and publish what we fix reports internally and where appropriate publicly. Question number 5, what if we find a bias, but we don't have the resources to fix it? Well, be transparent with your stakeholders. I want you to pause that tool if it's needed. Maybe it's not ready for prime time. I want you to seek outside help and focus those resources where the risks are highest. It's a great plug for your friends at AI Consulting from Zeroday Cybersecurity. So I want to challenge everyone here on the Zoom. What is the scariest metric your company tracks without questions? Honestly, I'm going to tell you, even within my own company, the one thing I notice is like ticket closeout times. Initially it looks great. It's like, wow, our ticket times are low, but Am I gauging customer satisfaction? Or like my AI receptionist? Do people like I actually was looking at some of these numbers and I realized people were hanging up because my AI receptionist wasn't doing a good enough job. People were getting frustrated with it. So I've had to make adjustments. But those are the real world metrics where it's just like AI, yes, I saved this amount of man hours, blah, blah, blah. But did it? Or did I lose opportunities because people got fed up with my AI receptionist? Myself as a business owner, I got to take that into account. All right, what do we have in the chat here? All right, no real world stories, no big deal. Now we can move into our final strategic update. Let's wrap it up with a challenge. Don't let good numbers lull you into a false sense of security. Great leaders measure what truly matters, but not what's convenient. This week, I want you to pick one AI metric your business relies on. Ask who benefits from this, but who might be harmed? Would we defend this metric if it was on the front page of the newspaper? I want you to remember that AI will not replace your business, but a business that governs and audits its AI honestly will outpace those that don't. The most powerful tool in your business isn't AI. It's you, asking the right questions and demanding the right answers. Let's make this better together. Next week on AI Insights Live, we'll explore shadow models and orphan data, the invisible risks of DIY AI. Don't just automate, audit with purpose. This was Andres with Zeroday Cybersecurity. Thank you for building the future responsibly, securely, and strategically. We'll see you next time.